from me this week was issue 1 of Agents of Atlas, which is a new series run by Marvel. It was going to be called New Agents of Atlas because there is an old Agents of Atlas series, but they've just gone with, I noticed when I picked it up, they've just gone with Agents of Atlas. It's I say it's a Marvel thing, so what can we say about that? There's loads of writers. I'm trying to find their names as I flick through it, but it's set in the MCU, well not MCU, the Marvel comic universe, and the Agents of Atlas are predominantly they're Asian superheroes. So they're run by a group called the Atlas Foundation, whose leader is a guy called Jimmy Woo. There's a guy called Braun who's the leader of the team of the Agents of Atlas. Braun is he's got gamma radiation. I mean, he's a bit of the Hulk. But, when he's not Braun, he's Amadeus Cho. There's Silk, who's got Spider-Man web powers. Yeah. It's just really cool. And
so it's Shang-Chi who's coming into the Marvel cinematic universe. Yeah.
Absolutely, Master Kung Fu. And it's also, she's not in it yet. She was in the I've got it upstairs in my house. We've got Crescent, who is a completely new superhero, and Luna Snow's also new as well. It was alright. It was just a cool series. I picked up this after reading their mini series that they had in the recent Marvel event of War of the Realms, and it's this relatively straightforward superhero story of a team coming together. What was quite interesting about this is they've not revealed what the bad guy's trying to do yet, but the plot revolves around this new international conglomerate group called the Pan Industries, and they create these things. I can't remember what he calls it, but it might just be called. They might be called gateways. But basically the antagonist sets up these portals in city centres all over the city centre, and it's set up like a subscription service. So you can, for one day, they were allowing you to, these portals open up like doorways between cities all over Asia. So you could you could walk through your, I'm trying to think what is it Seoul in South Korea. You can walk through a door and spend the afternoon in Tokyo and then come back through the door. Your doors, it's recognised as everyone's nationality. So as long as you walk through a gold door, if you're in another country and you walk through a gold door, you're always back in your country of origin. And they're at first they're oh, this is quite an amazing piece of technology. I wonder what's in it for them. And then oh, your experiences today are part of a free trial, and you get to sign up to this subscription. It was quite a cool wee sci-fi trope, and one that they haven't revealed what the big issue's going to be, and what's the, I assume what's the serious evil nature of the actual the project. But I thought it was
you could see it being used for nefarious things.
Nefarious was the word I was looking for. And then right at the end, which Marvel are doing quite a lot of at the moment, there's a smaller story that features the old Agents of Atlas from when this was a comic in the 70s and 80s, and they got their own little story as well, which I thought was quite cool. I wasn't expecting it to be in here, and I enjoyed that as well. And they're quite an interest because they're the old agents were a superhero group. I think in the 60s and 70s, they it kind of takes a knowing wink at the fact that one of the characters was a robot, a bit like Gort, I think, from who was originally landed to warn Earth of their if they continue down this dangerous path that will lead to destruction. But he's arrived on Earth and realised he actually quite likes it, so he now stays on Earth as a defender rather than a warrior of destruction. It was cool.
Actually interesting.
I'll just very, very quickly read out who wrote it because I made a bit of a hash of that this morning. So it was written by Greg Pak, drawn by Nico Leon, and coloured by Federico Blee. And letterer was VC's Joe Sabino. So I think quite an international collection of writers and creative.
I'm wondering how popular that'll be, being that there's lesser known characters.
Yeah. I think I will have a look at it, because you can read up.
Yeah.
It's at comicbooks.com. Or one of those websites does a rundown of how many folk bought which comic that week. I hope it's successful enough to continue on, but comics get cancelled all the time because they're not very.
So just need to wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So here's my first comic of the week. We'll just I'll review this while we're finishing off beer number 1. This is Space Captain. So my kind of theme this week is ends of series, so things that have just come to an end, but you can still go out and buy them. So Space Captain's an indie comic, written by Michael Park and drawn by Chris Baldy. So they're both Scottish-based creators from their company's Never Ever Press. And Space Captain came out a few years ago, and only earlier this year, I think, issues 5 and 6 came out at the same time, so ending this series. And what it is a science fiction story about, well, the main character is called Space Captain. I think we do learn his name very late on in the series. He's this mustachioed hero, and I kind of liked what I initially saw about this was it kind of reminds me a bit of Tintin a little bit. It's got that kind of feel about it, and the kind of the storyline is this space explorer from Earth goes into space. There's a problem with his capsule, and he ends up kind of frozen. You know,
a bit of Buck Rogers.
Yeah, a bit of Buck Rogers, a bit of Planet of the Apes sort of thing, and then wakes up, many years later, and he suddenly finds that everybody wants him, and the reason is because he's the last human.
Okay.
And he sort of gets changed hands. Somebody captures him, somebody takes him in, somebody tries to look after him, other people try to help him, and he goes to all these different planets and has lots of different adventures. There's one episode that's a bit like a western.
Okay.
And it's not until quite late on in the series that we discover why everybody's after him, and it's because humans in the past built this amazing weapon.
Okay.
But it can only be activated by a live human. So everybody's after them, so that
using
they can
it,
use them. Yeah, and it's not until really late on that we discover that. Not much of a spoiler, really. But I thought it was a really good series, really interesting. I love Chris's art style here.
I noted before,
for those of you on video.
There's a lot of panels.
He crams a lot into a page. Considering this an A5 comic, he's cramming lots of panels in there. Lots of high-speed action sequences in here. And he really does cram it in, and considering that they produced issues 5 and 6 at the same time, and released them simultaneously, it's quite amazing. It's just really beautiful artwork. I really do like the look of this. Occasionally you'll get it's interspersed with the bigger panels and things, but it's
quite dynamic, isn't it?
And the text is quite small but legible enough. Really interesting wee characters. And I was just going to mention...
They must have worked quite closely together to make that. There's a lot of...
I do remember about halfway through the series seeing Chris at a Comic Con and saying, when's the next issue coming out? And he was saying, it's down to Michael, he's the writer, I'm waiting for him to do stuff. And then at the next Comic Con I went to, Michael was there and he says, Chris is really taking his time. So anyway,
it does.
I really like it. It's great wee series.
It looks like it contains a lot of quality in it that I would associate with like a really tight partnership with regards to the writing.
I think so. I think they are. I think they do work really well together. Though Chris has gone on to do work with other people, other writers. Holly McKend, for example, they did a kind of, I can't remember, this Never Ever After or something. It's a kind of horror type story, which I think is ongoing. And he also did a book which has been republished. It'll be out it's already been out on Kickstarter and things, and I've got the original called Roll to One. And it's been republished. It got picked up by BHP Comics, that's a Glasgow based publishing house, just recently. And they're re-releasing his book Roll to One. If you're into Dungeons and Dragons, that's kind of what it's about. So a bunch of kids that get together to play Dungeons and Dragons, and you see the two stories, them, the kids themselves and their story, and the newcomer that comes to join their group, and you also get the story of their characters. And it's really good. And I keep saying to Chris, is there a sequel coming out? Because it's just a cracking story.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, no, it's a one-off.
No,
even today I was on Twitter and I went, because he was posting about the re-release this weekend, and I just sent him a message on Twitter saying, sequel?
That sounds good. I think I'll check that out.
Yeah, I'll give you the set of the 6, and it's a lot of reading in there because it's because of the sheer amount of pages.
I've been doing a lot of writing recently, and actually I find that quite I've been finding that quite daunting. Like I'm like, oh, okay,
translate things into panels. Yeah, for sure.
I think the writing process involved in that must have been astronomical.
I think so too. And to work out, kind of how the story was going to go, because they do visit lots of different planets. There's quite a lot of different characters. It's quite more complicated than it maybe initially seems. It's a good wee story. And certainly awesome. Read anything else that they produce.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Cool. Back soon. So my second comic of the week, and actually the comic I did enjoy the most of the comics I read this week, is Knight's Temporal from Aftershock Comics, written by Cullen Bunn and art by Fran Gallen. And this is I like this one. I think this is a Dave Sharp variant cover as well. Okay. It's lovely. One of the coolest covers of a comic I picked up, and the first time I've recognised I picked up a decent variant as well.
This is a comic I almost picked up at the comic shop as well.
I picked it up.
Looked interesting for me.
On the strength of the blurbs at our local comic shop, as I imagine most local comic shops do, is they tell you what's coming out that week and to check up. And I put this in my pull list. So this is about he's got a really tricky name because he's our main protagonist is a member of the Knights Templar. He's coming back and he feels somewhat jaded and disgusted, and
so what has he been in, like
Jerusalem? The Crusades. He's come back, okay. But as history has sort of told us, that wasn't, these guys did quite a lot of horrific things in the name of of their day. So he has dedicated his life in to hunting down what he recognises as evil, as witchcraft, as horrible, and he's trying to hunt this stuff down. He goes into a enchanted forest to chase down a necromancer or a witchy kind of person. He chases him into the forest, and when he emerges, he's in modern day San Francisco. Oh. And the story takes quite an interesting jump, but he continues his work as a killer of evil, but he does it in modern day.
All right. So he fits in well into Trump's America.
He does. So it's quite interesting as he does some. They've not really gone into it yet in this first issue, but he is dealing with some sort of and not anxiety, amnesia. He doesn't quite work out. He can't quite remember what's going on. There's gaps in his memory, but he is guided by this other character who. She's this impish young lady who looks a bit punky. Right there. She is like her spirit guide or her guide in this series, and it's quite good. Like I don't want to go too much into it. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a whole thing in there about time travel. There's obviously he's travelled in time, but in this part of the story he's fitting quite well into modern day America. And then right towards the end of the series, the issue, an older man, approaches him and says, "I saw you. It's you. I can't believe I've aged 50 years and you've not aged a day." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And it appears that when he emerged in San Francisco, this is not the first time he's emerged from the forest, but he doesn't know why. Yeah. And that seems to be the cliffhanger that this series is gonna settle on, which is quite interesting. Good. It was drawn really well. I really like the art. I quite like Aftershock Comics as a series, as a publishing house.
Yeah, they do some really nice stuff.
They did a series last year that I read called Deep Roots, which was about it was a really quite twisted tale of that was leading into this environmental agenda of we to fix the planet before it kills us kind of thing.
I'm trying to remember what I read from Aftershock.
But, quite experimental series. Yeah, you've reviewed something and I've been like, oh, that's
yeah.
And the advert for Deep
Roots. I'm just having a quick look at what their current ones are, and they've got like A Walk Through Hell, by Garth Ennis, and that looks like an
Mary Shelley, Monster Hunter.
Of course, that's one I'm currently reading. Yeah.
I remember you brought that out in a previous podcast, and there was an advert for Deep Roots in it.
4 or 5 of that now. That's right. Yeah.
But they're quite an experimental. In my head, I don't know. They're quite a big publisher in the comic world.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not Marvel. They're not DC.
Monstro Mechanica. I've read issue 1 of that.
Yeah.
It's volume 1, is it? I might pick that one up. Monstro Mechanica is kind of a bit steampunky, but it's set earlier. It's Leonardo da Vinci, and him and his sort of apprentice has built a mechanical machine, a robot, basically, and secretly his apprentice has kind of trained it and programmed it.
Yeah.
So it's much more clever than Da Vinci actually knows. I'm interested to read the rest of that. I'll maybe pick that one up sometime soon.
And, they put out Animosity, I noticed as well. Animosity was the one about the what would happen if all animals on Earth got human sentience, and like.
Of course, you reviewed that.
I reviewed that.
Yeah.
So I think what's interesting about Aftershock is they do quite a lot of creator owned.
Oh.
Like a lot of. I mean, there are a lot of very well known writers and artists in their ranks that, but it tends to be more creator owned stuff, a bit like what Image does.
Garth Ennis, Marguerite Bennett's in there, Colin Bunn, who's the writer of this one, it's quite well known. People that have gone on and maybe worked for Marvel or DC and then have wanted to put out their own stories. We're finding that a lot with the writers is that and artists is that they are. They team up with people that are kind of fairly well known to produce their own stuff, and they come out through places like Image. That's kind of how Image Comics works. Is that you just submit an idea to them, but you've got to have a team and artwork and stuff, and if they might then run with it, so they take that on, and that's what a lot of these other smaller independent publishers work. Rather than DC or Marvel, where you get taken on to do a run.
Spider-Man or something. No, it's I recommend it. You should check out these Image, and I think off the top of my head, Image, Dynamite and Aftershock are the kind of 3 that I think of that are.
Black Horse has been around. They do a lot of stuff as well. Trying to remember some of the other, so many.
But yeah, if you want
Dark Horse, that's a Black Horse. I mean Dark Horse.
And obviously the stuff on Comic House as well. It's all creator owned kind of.
Yeah. Comic House is great. Lots of new stuff come on there just recently.
I noticed that. I'm probably going to be doing a Comic House kind of block review next week.
Yeah, it's quite a good idea. I might do that as well because there's some great stuff on there.
It's £3 a month or something.
Yeah,
it's ridiculously
incredible. Cheap. So yeah. Why don't we do that? We'll do a Comic House
special next week.
And whatever we read on Comic House.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah, and I'll just mention I've got 5 comics on Comic House.
I know. Is it only 5?
Maybe 4. I can't remember.
No, I don't know. One of yours.
I'll put some of my.
I went on this morning, and your Mary Queen of Scots is on the list of new releases.
All right, yeah.
It was just which fills me with pride. It's quite going.
I went out of print way back about a year ago, and I thought, well, I'll get another print run done. No, I'll just put it on Comic House, and probably reach a bigger audience.
Yeah.
So.
Check
see
it
how
out.
that does.
We'll put a wee thing on next week about how you access comics.
Yeah, absolutely. Comic House special next time.
Cool, awesome.
Okay, final comic review, and again on my theme of things that are ending. It's Paper Girls number 30, which is the last in this long running series. It's been about 3 or 4 years this has been running because it's not been continuous. They've done it in sort of arcs of 5 comics, and then they've had a break for like 3 months. And then do another arc of 5. So
seasons, maybe.
Brian K. Vaughan, well-known writer. Cliff Chang, who won awards for the artwork on this comic. I think the colourists have changed throughout the whole series. Really interesting kind of art style.
I've not read much of Paper Girls, but certainly I've always found the colours have been
Very attractive. Draws you in. And it's the story of a bunch of paper girls, funnily enough, in the USA. A new girl joins them one morning, and bizarre things start to happen. They get kind of chased by these teenagers dressed weirdly in sort of spacesuit things, and they end up in the basement of a house where they find a machine that allows for time travel.
Yeah.
And they end up going to different time eras, meeting versions of themselves, older versions of themselves, and sort of uncovering some sort of conspiracy type thing, where there are people that are trying to exploit time travel for their own ends, and then a group of people who are trying to stop that from happening and clean up the mess that people leave behind.
Yeah.
Interestingly, this apparently has been picked up by Amazon for a TV show.
Oh, amazing.
And already people are seeing Amazon's version of Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's what it's. That's what.
But this predates Stranger Things.
Yeah.
This predates it. What makes it that? It's set in the 80s initially, but from when they do their time travelling, so you'll see the big hairdos amongst the girls, the outfits, I'll show you that. The BMX bikes, which is reminiscent of, and they're chopper style bikes, which is reminiscent of like E.T.
Yeah.
And initially that's what interested me in this. It felt like a sort of E.T. Goonies type of story. But it turned out not to be like that at all. I didn't realise it was going to be sci-fi. And I think I kind of liked it for the first 2 arcs, for the first 10 issues. But I very quickly began to realise that they weren't really telling you very much, explaining kind of what was going on. It took them a long time for that to come out, exactly what was going on in the storyline. Also, there's a bizarre section at the back of every comic book, apart from this one actually, where they have like this Paper Girls or Paper Boys club, and they have letters which some look like they're fake letters sent into this club, and then there's other letters that seem to be readers' letters.
Yeah.
And occasionally there's things mentioned in those letters, if you bother to read them, that seem to tie in with events in the story. So I'm not sure if there's some hidden messages in there or not. I'm really not sure. I just can't quite get it.
Quite a clever thing.
It just felt like there maybe was, but I wasn't quite getting it.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that I really like this series because I've stuck with it for 30 issues, but I don't. Because they just seem to spin it out. The middle section just seemed to be like rehashing the same sort of thing. Let's jump to another time zone. Let's put the girls in danger. Let's get them out of that. Let's get them onto another time zone. Let's give them a tiny little clue as to what might be happening.
Yeah.
But it's all about their future selves and other people leaving messages through time to help them achieve their goal of kind of getting back to their original time.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping in this sort of double issue for the last one that it would be very satisfying ending, and it wasn't. To the extent where I'm really not that bothered if Amazon make it out as a TV show, because I know it's going to get compared to Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And Stranger Things, as far as I'm concerned, is really good. Paper Girls was just overly long, overly complicated. And I just hope they change it when they come to writing the TV show, that they shorten it and make it a bit more understandable. Or else, you will have people watching it and turning it off after a few episodes have gone, what the hell was that about?
Yeah, totally.
And just a little bit unsatisfying,
the
ending, which was a shame because it had a lot of promise at the beginning. And I've read other people's reviews and other people saying that they thought it was wonderful. But I just didn't.
I find that quite a lot.
Like, didn't do it for me.
Everyone's subjective.
Yeah. So it's Image Comics. The trade paperbacks are out, so I think there'll be 6 of them, which cover 5 issues each. It may be of interest to you. I like the artwork, like the start.
The colours in there nice.
Like the end.
It's a really beautiful front cover.
Yeah, it's a beautiful artwork. And Cliff Chang, who's the artist, he's done other things. He's going on to do Wonder Woman and things in between times. It keeps that kind of style going really well. And yeah, I like the block colours and things that they've gone. No, it seems to be a little bit that towards the end the colours got more complicated. It started off the simpler, bolder colour schemes like this, and it seemed, I don't know, I think it maybe just different colourists possibly getting involved in it, but it became more kind of realistic colours.
Comics are funny like that. I was reading Venom this week, and the art took a weird jarring turn in the last 2 pages of an issue, and it pulled me right out of the comic. It was really odd. It's fun. It's interesting when like comics do that, or like comic artists and creative teams decide to change it up mid-issue, or
it
like,
happens. Somebody goes off the run and then somebody else comes on. I've got a book which is a sort of fantasy series. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's quite old, and it's got a good story, kind of fantasy about warring sort of tribes and things. And you read through it, and the first 5 issues of the arc, really good art, and then the last one, they've changed the artist, and it just drops incredibly, and it was really disappointing.
It's like it pulls you out of it, though,
it really did. It was jarring.
The Glow comic I read last week, I was just like, what's this? This is like, even by the relatively low standards set by this comic run, this is like, it's like they could be arsed finishing it properly. It was just odd.
So just consistency, and I can understand, something happens and the artist can't do it, or
we get that.
Whatever, they have a child, or they fall ill, or whatever happens.
It's just noticeable.
So very noticeable. Right. So that was the last comic. Could you pass that picture up? I'm going to give this a mention.
Give this a mention.
Right, because this is quite exciting. As a long-term Commando comics reader and British comics reader since the 70s, I'm just going to mention this. Warlord was a comic from the 70s and 80s. Wartime comic series produced by DC Thompson. They had a little club that you could join. Warlord Secret Agents. I was a member.
Good.
But they're bringing it back. Not actually the comic. What they're doing is it's the character Warlord is going to be brought back into Commando comics, which I've reviewed a couple of these.
You have.
The plan at DC Thompson is they're going to raid their back catalogue of characters from all their comics, like Hotspur, Warlord, Victor, all these comics that were around sort of 60s, 70s, 80s war comics that have all gone by the wayside. But they're raiding their back catalogue, and they're starting with Lord Peter Flint, who's a sort of James Bond type character that was in the Warlord comic. And that picture I just showed you, there's the cover of the first one, which is out on the 22nd of August, so fairly soon. By my favourite artist, Ian Kennedy. So that's quite exciting. Had a little chat with Gordon, who's the editor of Commando, at a recent event, the Defend Fife World War II Festival that was on just locally. Commando was there, and had a little chat with Gordon there, the editor, and he's quite excited about bringing back some of these characters, and he was actually asking people, what character would you bring back? So I pitched an idea to him. So
amazing!
Fingers crossed he'll maybe take that on board, and I'll write up a wee kind of story synopsis and see what happens there. But there is a character that I liked from Victor. It wasn't one that was in a lot of Victors, but certainly was there from time to time. But I'd love to see some of those characters come back.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, but they've already started the ball rolling, so interesting stuff. And when that one comes out, I'll review it.
That's exciting.
Okay.
That's good.
So, comics are over.